Hello everybody and welcome to this session on Less Pain Today with me, Cheryl Lee, somatic educator. If this is your first time doing somatics, welcome, great choice, and do not worry, you will be safe in the session. The session is safe for you to do if you are entirely new. If you already are a somatic fan, fantastic, well done. And there's always, I think, something to learn, explore and experience, isn't there, in this work, no matter whose lesson you go to. So welcome and enjoy. So this Less Pain Today series that I'm doing, let me just explain it for a moment. I am taking each week a different somatic movement and taking a deep dive into that movement, explaining it really well so people feel comfortable with it. And then after 12 weeks or 15 weeks or 60, I mean, this could go on because there's loads of somatic movements, but even after 5 weeks, you will have a kind of little routine that you can do that will address the flexors at the front of your body, the extensors at the back, lateral muscles, and then we'll ripple out from the trunk to the hips and shoulders and to the neck, arms, legs and feet. All right, so we kind of start in the center, we start in the middle of the body and ripple out to the rest of the body. So it is slow and it is kind of targeted in this central part of the body first, but it does build up. And the teaching is slow, deliberately, because when we have pain, we need to let our brain see our body parts a little bit more clearly. And if we move quickly, we're just moving in our habits. We're just doing what we already do and what the brain already knows. And we've got pain there. So we want to interrupt that feedback loop and do something a little differently. You can do these movements differently with more speed, and I teach that actually in my trauma recovery course, which you'll find in that section. There's about 12 lessons building up to a more rapid and a more fluid series of movements, but you have to know the movements first, which is why I teach them slowly in the beginning. Okay, so, all right then, take a moment to arrive properly now in the session, now that I've introduced it. Push your phone away or turn it over and really commit to the session. Come on this journey. We're going to be together for the next hour or so, and, you know, just commit to doing something different, to feeling something different, and to exploring different kind of movement, quality of movement in your body. So I like to begin with a couple of breaths. So feel the floor under your feet, feel the chair under your bottom. And from that solid base, imagine as you breathe in, your spine rising. It's like wings are lifting you. And then breathe out back into your anchor. Let's take 2 more breaths together. And just 3 breaths can begin to kind of wind down your nervous system and get your body in a different place, ready for a different quality of movement. So let me set the container before we begin. Everything is an invitation, okay? So you don't have to do anything. Anything that you do in this session takes place with your consent. Comfort, so that's the first thing. Secondly, comfort and safety are queen and king. Do not let my instructions override the comfort and safety of your body. All right, so it's really important. Let Goldilocks be your guardian angel. All right, Goldilocks, she likes things just right. Okay, so she doesn't do too much, she doesn't do too little. It's that just right level of safety and comfort. I won't be asking you to go into any discomfort, and if I'll try to sort of predict, yeah, these are the areas where people tend to have difficulty with this movement. So I will already have highlighted maybe to, you know, get a cushion or to get some padding or an alternative starting position. All right, so I will look after you, but you look after yourselves. Okay, so as part of this comfort and safety, a little safety mechanism that I'm going to introduce is this scale of 1 to 10. So a scale of 1 to 10 for speed of movement. So, you know, we're not in an aerobics or cardio class, so we're going to slow it right down. And let's have as the kind of safe beginning speed 3 out of 10. And the same for effort, 3 out of 10 in terms of how much force, effort, maybe even range that you're going to go to. So you're not going to be going to the end of your range. You're not trying to stretch to the end of the range. Instead, which brings me on to the third point, what we are thinking about is exploring new movement and trying to control it. So let me just give you an image to help you think about controlling movement. So, oh no, I'm not sharing my screen. I need to share my screen. There we go. All right, so here we are. So can you see the clock hand moving? It's just, oh no, it starts again. All right, so we've got that smooth, even movement as that hand goes around the clock. And that is ultimately in every move that you do in somatics. Once you've kind of got used to the movement and performed it a couple of times and kind of felt, how is this movement for me? Because you've got to feel it first. Then the attempt is to make it smooth, but in that comfortable, safe range that you're in. What the movement might feel like, so let me stop that share and I'll go into a different share. What the movement might feel like, so just notice, see that second hand there on this clock. Now, this is a different quality of movement, isn't it? It's kind of juddery, it's uneven, it's shaky. And as we do these new and unfamiliar movements today, you might feel that it's a bit like that. And you know what? That is absolutely normal, okay? So every time I teach somebody somatics, there's always that level of not being able to control the movement because the brain doesn't normally go there in such fine detail at such a low level of effort and such a low level of speed. So it is your brain is unable to control it. So there will be that sort of judderiness. All right, so don't be worried. That is absolutely normal. And after a couple of exploratory movements in your comfortable range, you will then begin that process of trying to go from the juddering to smooth, fluid, even movement, which is a sign of your brain becoming more in control. Okay, so it is not about range, it's about control. And okay, so finally we're ready to go down to the floor. Now, the position and setup, our main movement is going to be done lying on your front. Now, this can be quite uncomfortable for some people. So I'm going to suggest that you have a cushion. So I've got this nice, you can't really see it. Let me show you on the bed. I've got this nice wedge-shaped cushion, which is perfect for front lying. Now, so I'm going to do what I said. I'm going to show you a couple of alternatives. You'll start on your back. I'll guide you through the process. But then we come to the main movement and you're going to roll over and you're going to turn on your front. And I'm going to say to turn your head to the most comfortable side. All right. So that could be the left for some of you. That could be the right for others. But let it be your most comfortable side. Now, turning the head fully to the side like that may be incredibly uncomfortable for some people. So you're not going to do that. Don't suffer on my account, please. So if it is uncomfortable to turn your head to the side, then you are going to have a cushion under your forehead so that your nose doesn't get squashed, so that you can be like this. So your head can be down and your neck can remain long and you haven't got that uncomfortable rotation, okay? So that's the first thing. Now, if you're okay with turning your head to the side, then maybe you don't have to have a cushion, but if you've got a thin towel, not a pillow because they're a bit too bulky, but a thin towel or cushion. This is really for your cheek, because having your cheek into the floor can be uncomfortable at first. You're going to begin with your arm out to the side, and you're going to be lifting the elbow first. We'll explore that movement a few times, and then you'll go to lifting the head. And so lifting the head, we're going to be extending first and then gently lifting. And do you notice I haven't lifted very much? I could go a lot further, but I'm not controlling it slowly there. I have to do that more quickly. All right, so your movements will be quite a small range. Now, we will then put the hand underneath the cheek, and this is where it can get a bit uncomfortable for people. So an alternative is to put the hands under the forehead. You will then put together the movement of lifting the elbow and the head, and the hand will be a kind of platform to rest the head on. You may have the head turned down. You probably didn't hear that. You may have the head turned down. Don't worry, you don't have to remember all of that. I will coach it as you move through the session, but it just gives you an idea of, what's my neck like? Do I know I've got some sort of issue with my neck? And do I need to go and grab a soft towel, a thin blanket, or something like that? So go ahead and get what you need. And then you are going to come and lie down. I'm going to sit right here. I'm not going to show you anything else. So then you are going to lie down with your legs extended, and we'll begin the movement part of the session. Do not worry about remembering anything that I've said, but I have highlighted a couple of things to you, and that will be meaningful in the session when I kind of remind you about it. So, right then. Are you lying down on your back? That's our starting position. So we're going to do a brief scan of the body. Now we call this a soma scan. We are not looking for problems. Instead, what we are noticing is how much contact does our body have with the surface below us. I invite you to close your eyes and to give the full weight of your body to the surface below you. And let's begin at the feet. Notice the quality of contact between your heels and the surface below you. Notice whether you are turning one foot a little bit more out to the side in comparison with the other foot. And no judgment of that, but just notice, is there a slight difference, or are you fairly evenly balanced? And then take your awareness to the back of your calves. What's the contact like there? Just scan left, scan right. Go to the back of the thighs, scan left, scan right. And then the back of the pelvis. Notice the right side. What's the quality of contact? Go to the left. What is the quality of contact? How much of that side of the pelvis is in contact? Is there a balance between left and right, or do you feel heavier? Sometimes you can feel tipped a little bit more to one side. Again, we're not looking for problems. This is how your nervous system is holding you away from the surface right now, and that can change. Okay, so now go to the back of the ribs, back of the shoulders. Notice the quality of contact there, left to right. Is there a sense of evenness, or do you feel closer to the ground on one side compared to the other? And what about the top of the shoulder? Does one shoulder feel a little closer to the ear than the other? Does it feel lifted away from the surface? How does the left feel? How does the right feel? Or have you got that balance? How do your arms feel? Are the back of the arms in contact? Where are you contacting in the forearms? What's the level of contact with the hand? And where are the hands? Are they rolled down? Are they rolled up? Are they on their side? Are your arms bent? Are they on your belly? Or are they rolled out? And if they are rolled out, does that feel comfortable in your shoulders, or are you kind of opening and is there a bit of strain there? Just notice. If there is some strain there, can you adjust to make there be less strain? And then let's scan through the spine. Notice the tailbone. And from the tailbone, let's take a journey up the spine, back of the pelvis. Notice the level of contact. The low back often lifts away from the ground, and you'll have that natural arch. Just notice how it feels for you, how high it feels. And can you notice it coming back in contact with the ground, with the surface below you? Can you notice any contact through the thoracic spine? How long does your neck feel? Does it feel like the skull bone is far away from the shoulders? Or is the skull drawn closer to the shoulders and the shoulders drawn close to the skull? What is your chin doing? Is it tilted up towards the ceiling? Just notice. And briefly take a note of how you're breathing. How deep is your breath? How full does your breath feel? Don't try to change. Don't try to breathe any deeper. Notice where the tensions are in your body, any thoughts, feelings, emotions. And as you're just lying in stillness, let me read you a quotation. This is about mindfulness, but it applies to what we're doing today, which is mindfulness of movement. But mindfulness means non-judgmental awareness, a direct knowing of what is going on inside and outside ourselves, moment by moment. Well, don't worry too much about what's going on outside of yourself today, but do have your focus inwards and notice what's happening. We're sensing not just a new movement, but we're also going to be sensing what does it feel like after making the movement when I'm lying in stillness. So we're not always predicting we want this to happen, we want this effect. We're literally noticing what is going on in our bodies as we move and rest. Okay, just take one last snapshot of your body. If you were magically whisked into the air away from the surface and your body had left an imprint in wet sand or wet cement, what would that imprint look like? Would it be deeper in certain parts? Would it be lighter in other parts? And then float back down. And we're going to take our position for our first movement. So we're going to do an arch and flatten movement. You're going to be lying on your backs, but you will be bending your knees, standing your feet near to your buttocks. Knees are about hip distance, feet are about hip distance. Take your fingers and place them on your pelvic bones. And this is a gentle reminder to do what is comfortable, okay? No strain. And level 3 out of 10 for effort and for speed. We're going to motor plan our first movement. Motor planning means I will describe the movement and you will absorb that information without moving, and then you'll execute the movement. So this is motor planning, so no movement. I know it's frustrating. So you are going to, in a moment, gently arch your back, lifting your navel, and allow your pelvis to roll away from the navel. So it's like your fingers will be moving, because your fingers are on your pelvic bones, your fingers will be moving towards your feet. And then you're going to undo that movement, returning to neutral. Let's go ahead and do that movement. Arch the back, roll the pelvis, and then slowly come out of the movement. And now stop, melt, soften, release your body, and notice any feedback from your body. You've just done your first pandiculation. A pandiculation is a key movement in somatics. It has 3 parts. Number 1 is a slow contraction. So you slowly contracted your back muscles to arch your back and roll your pelvis. The slow release was floating back to neutral, and then part 3 was stopping and sensing and exercising that awareness of the how does your body feel after the movement? Was there any tingling, warmth? Where do you notice it? So let's do that movement a couple more times. Remember, it's not a high arch, okay? We're exploring movement here. And if you've got pain, you don't want to be doing a huge arch of your back. Can we coordinate it with breath maybe? Breathing in as you arch your back and roll your pelvis, knowing you've contracted the back muscles, and then slow release and completely relax. Can you call to mind the hands of the 2 clocks that I showed you? The one was the juddery clock, and the first one was the very smooth clock, and the second one was the juddery one. Now maybe you felt a little bit of juddering or shaking on your return. And on this 3rd repetition, perhaps you can somehow attempt to slow that down and smooth it out. So let's take a breath in, arch the back, roll the pelvis, tilting the tailbone into the surface, and then slowly release, controlling the movement, make it smooth, and completely relax in neutral. We're going to do one more, and I'm going to suggest you put your attention on your neck and feel that how you arch your back, actually there's also a pull in the neck, because the whole length of the spine is experiencing a contraction. So you're going to voluntarily contract your spine to arch your back, and then you're going to slowly release that. Breathe in, arch the back, notice the contraction along the length of the spine. Pelvis rolls, tailbone tilts into the surface. Slowly, smoothly, evenly release, and then completely relax. Soften, notice any sensations. Now that movement has a partner. So we've been deliberately arching the back and contracting the back muscles. Now we're going to lengthen the back muscles as we flatten the back down into the surface and gently lift the tailbone. So just take your fingers to your pelvis again, and this time when you do the movement, instead of the hip bones rolling away, they're going to gently roll towards your navel as your tailbone lifts and your back flattens. Okay, so when you are ready, you're going to just breathe normally. When you are ready, you are going to sink the back and belly, tilt the tailbone up towards the ceiling, roll the hip bones in towards the navel, and then slowly come out of that movement, undo that movement, unwind. So the pandiculation is that you are contracting the front of your body, you're contracting the abdominal muscles, and you're lengthening the back muscles. So once again, when you are ready, breathing at an easy pace, you are going to sink the back and belly and tilt the tailbone gently upwards, extending the tailbone away from the body and the hip bones rolling towards the navel, contracting the belly. Just keep breathing. Take as many breaths as you like to execute that movement, and then undo the movement, returning to neutral. Now, because we're contracting the belly, it makes sense to do this movement on an out breath. So you're going to breathe in first, and then as you breathe out, you're going to sink the back and belly, roll the pelvis. So let's do that movement together. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, sink the back and belly, roll the hip bones in towards the navel, contracting the front of the belly, front of the body, and then gently unwind and completely relax. Okay. I explore this movement in detail in the first of this series. What's it called? Less Pain Today. That's right. Less Pain Today 1. We explore that movement deeply. That's all we're going to do for now. We're going to repeat at the end of the session as well. But now you're going to transition onto your front so that we can do our back lift. So roll over onto your front. Now, just have your head, your head downwards. So your forehead is downwards, and you've got your little cushion or blanket that you're just going to put under your head. And you're going to do a little experiment, very gently taking your head to the left and to the right, and just seeing if you have a side that is more comfortable. And it makes sense, doesn't it, to start on your most comfortable side. And often we do have a side that's most comfortable. Now, if you can't turn your head completely to one side, please remember what I said at the beginning of the session. It doesn't matter. Please do not strain. All right. You've got to do this movement from a level of comfort. And if you were in here with me right now as my client, I would not allow you to turn the head if I saw that you had difficulty as turning the head and having your head to one side for the starting position. All right, I would pad you up under the forehead and we would do the movement from your comfort. All right, so if you've chosen a side, fantastic, and it's comfortable to turn to that side, then turn to that side. So that is your target side, the side you're looking at. So if you're looking to the left is your target side. All right. And if you are central, I'm going to imagine that you're starting on the left. All right, just to be clear with my instructions to everybody. So we start on the left first, and the target side changes to the right side when we swap. Okay, so what I'd like you to do first then is take your hand and place it at the side of your forehead, with the fingers pointing towards the forehead and the elbow out to the side. So it looks like a salute. I did do a salute there, but actually you're face down, and I'm not going to do any visual cues because I don't want you turning, straining your neck to look at me. This is all going to be audio cues, okay? So your hand is towards your forehead, as if you are saluting, your elbow out to the side. Now, from that position, I want you to imagine that somebody is lifting you by your elbow. All right, so it's as if you're a puppet and somebody is there's a string attached to your elbow and they're lifting, and then the elbow is being replaced back down. So this is a pandiculation. Go ahead and just do that movement. You're going to lift the elbow, Goldilocks, 3 out of 10, remember, effort and speed, and then returning back to neutral. Do you feel it in the top of your shoulder? Was it uncomfortable in any way? If it was, then do less. Or if you have your head turned to the side, have your head facing down and the back of your neck long. Go slower, do less range if there was any discomfort at all. Now let's do that movement again. So the hand stays in contact, and it's just like you're floating the elbow. So float the elbow up to the top of your comfortable range, and then allow it to come down. Right, if you've got that juddery going on, it's okay. If you have, come down and completely relax, and deliberately relax the top of the shoulder. Let's do that movement with the breath. So this is motor planning for you. All right, don't move yet. Breathe in as you lift, breathe out as you lower. So go ahead and breathe in as you lift the elbow, float, and then float down, breathe out. What happened in your belly? Did you tighten your belly to stabilize? If you did, don't do that. If you're in a Pilates class, that's fine. If you're in a strength class, that's fine. You're trying to solidify your trunk. But we are trying to give you the option of softness in the trunk, all right? So solidifying in the trunk for certain movements is great. But in somatics, that's not what we're doing. We're unpicking movements and giving you greater freedom in the center of your body. So please don't try to tighten your core for this movement. I'm not telling you it's wrong, because in a different class, that's fine. So this is motor planning for you, then putting it together with the breath. Can you breathe in and soften your belly as you float the elbow up, and then breathe out, float the elbow down? Go ahead and try that movement several times. So you're breathing in, soft belly, and breathing out, floating down. What can you do to smooth out that movement of the elbow? To almost imagine that it's a puppeteer very smoothly, seamlessly allowing that elbow to return to the surface. What can you do to smooth out the movement? Because the brain has to be really aware of where the movement is taking place and be able to sort of suddenly go, oh, okay, right, I can feel that, I can sense that. And now, because it's slow enough And because the effort level is low, I can hop in there and I can take control. And then relax what you're doing. Soften completely. Allow the elbow to be heavy. And allow the face or the jaw, the side of the face, if that is pressed towards the surface, to really relax. Allow your shoulders to soften into the surface. Allow your hips, knees, feet to soften into the surface. The arm can stay where it is, but we're not going to lift the elbow now. We're going to lift the spine. Now, this is motor planning for you. I want you to imagine that you are going to lengthen your spine first. So it's as if the crown, the occiput, the back of the skull, is lengthening away and the tailbone is lengthening away. And you're getting length in the spine as you gently begin to lift the breastbone away from the surface and feel the pelvis sink into the surface. And then you're going to come down. So you'll go up using as many breath cycles as you need. You might take 2 or 3 even to get up there, or you might just take 1. All right, it's all okay. It's your comfort. So let's execute that movement. You're going to gently extend the spine and begin to float the breastbone fractionally away from the surface, allowing the pelvis to press into the surface and then come down and completely relax. Soften everything. And then repeat. Now, maybe you can go a little further with your repetitions, and maybe you feel that you're lifting more than 1 millimeter off the surface, and then you float down. So there's that extension through the spine. The head begins to come up and the pelvis presses down. So there's a kind of weighting that's going on. Head comes up, pelvis comes down, spine is extended. Now there's no strain in the back of the neck. You're keeping your neck nice and long. You're not lifting up your chin and shortening the back of your neck. The neck stays long. As you lift, can you send the breath into your belly? Soft belly. So it's like the belly and the pelvis press down, and then you come out of the movement. As you breathe into the belly, the pelvis presses down, the head lifts, the spine extends, and then you float out of the movement and then completely relax. Let's do the next part. So we're going to combine the fingers or the hand and the head lifting. So my suggestion is to place the fingers of your hand underneath your cheek, and if that is uncomfortable, you can place them at your forehead. So it's the part of the cheek that is in contact with the surface. If you're face down, then go to your forehead and place them underneath your forehead. So we are going to lift the elbow and lift the head and chest and spine. So it's like your fingers are glued now to your face, whether it's your forehead or whether it's your cheek, and your hand is going to be a little platform for your head to rest on as you move. It's going to take perhaps a little more effort and a little more force to do this movement, but make sure it's slow enough so that you're controlling it and that you are not yanking up and going into a large range, which puts pressure on the back of your neck. All right, so we're staying slow and we're staying safe. So with the hand under the cheek or under the forehead, you're going to take that breath into your belly and lift the elbow, head, and hand, and then slowly come down. Completely relax. Now, with the lift, can you imagine that you are leading with your elbow, and as the elbow lifts, it's drawing your face as if to look over your shoulder. So you've got a little rotation going on, which is opening that target side, that target shoulder. So let's go ahead now and take a breath in, lift the elbow, cheek, head, and hand. The breastbone lifts and hovers away from the surface. Feel an extension at the front of your body. Do as many breaths as you like to come up to your top position, and then slowly, slowly come down and completely relax. And just try now that movement a couple more times. So the hand is connected to your forehead or your cheek, the underside cheek, and you are leading with the elbow. You're floating up the elbow, you're allowing the head to hover, you're extending the spine, you're allowing the pelvis to press into the surface as your spine extends away from the surface. Feel long in the spine. And then you're floating down. Do this movement with less and less effort. So when you're kind of playing at first, we do tend to do a bigger movement. So can you take something away from it? Can you do less movement, but feel more comfort? So you're getting that lovely extension through the spine, and leading with the elbow, you're getting that nice rotation so that your eyes are turning over, turning as if to look over your shoulder, and then come down, completely relax. And let go of everything. Soften your face, have your head in a comfortable position. Now, whichever side you were turned to, so if you were turned to your left is the target side. You are going to be doing your opposite leg. Now, it could be that the right was your target side because that was more comfortable for you, in which case the leg that we're looking at now is the left leg. All right, so whichever elbow you've lifted, it's the opposite leg. All right, we're staying in the same position, but this time we're not going to be lifting the head, we're not going to be lifting the elbow, so be at ease in your upper body. So what I would like you to do with that target leg, remember it's the opposite leg to the elbow you've just lifted, you're going to first of all extend, lengthen and straighten that leg, and then you're going to lift 1 millimeter away from the surface and then come down. Go ahead and do that movement. Extend the leg, lift fractionally away from the surface with a straight leg, and then slowly come down. Completely relax. And once again, extend the leg, lift the leg, and slowly come down. Smooth, even movement, completely relax. Can you feel that your glute on that side is contracting to lift the leg? Just notice, is your leg straight? And just play. It might feel, you might feel a better recruitment if you kind of roll the heel inwards as you lift and lengthen. And then slowly, smoothly, evenly allow the leg to come down. Now it could be, now that we've done it 2 or 3 times, that you are getting used to the range. Maybe you can explore the range a little more. Maybe you can go a little higher. That's fine, as long as you can keep it slow and as long as you can control that descent right to the end, right to the end. So you're not, boom, coming down in a quick movement. You're controlling all the way through, like a smooth clock at the beginning, not like the juddering clock. So keep it at a level that you can control and that feels interesting. Be curious about what you can feel. And did you try to roll your heel inwards? How does that feel with your glutes? And can you feel a length across the front of your body, particularly on that side? And just relax, soften. Now we're going to put those 2 movements together. So let me describe it to you. So the hand now, still on the beginning side, so whichever was your target hand, all right, you are going to be placing that under your cheek. You will be lifting the elbow. You will be lifting the head and chest, hovering away from the surface. And at the same time, you'll be extending that opposite leg, lifting. So you'll be lengthening across the front of your body, shortening across the back, and then slowly coming down. So let's do the full expression of that movement. When you are ready, you're going to lift, take as many breaths as you like to come up, soft in the center, and then slowly come down and completely relax, soften everything. Become a dead weight, melt, and notice the sensations in your body. Let's do that again. Breathe in as you lift, but keep breathing. Go to the end of your comfortable range. The elbow lifts, the leg extends. Feel like you've extended your spine from your pelvis. Neck is long. Head is turning to look over your shoulder, but comfortably. And slowly come down. Can you allow your elbow and your leg to be synchronized as they return? And how smooth and controlled is that movement? Play with that movement now a few times. If it's uncomfortable in any way for your neck, remember, you can have your head facing down. If you don't want your hand up under your forehead, that's okay. Take your hand out of the equation and lift the head and the leg. That's also okay. And I'll just share with you, as you're exploring this movement, that when I first did this movement, I found it incredibly uncomfortable, but that's because I was really cranking my neck up and I was doing it with a lot of force and a lot of effort, just because I didn't have the control in my neck. And I learned that doing tiny movements, so I was just lifting 1 millimeter, gathering up the muscles as if to lift a little bit higher, but then almost kind of changing my mind and ungathering those muscles, softening. And I had the most incredible releases around the neck. And I see that often with my clients as well, that paring back the movement to a much smaller movement actually is very, very helpful at the beginning, and it allows you to develop range. Now, let's just complete the next movement as your last one, and then you're going to roll onto your back briefly with your knees bent. And on your back with your knees bent. Because we've been in a position where you've been deliberately arching your back a little bit, we're going to just soften that back by flattening down 3 times like we did at the beginning of the session, but we're taking the arch out of it. Okay, so if you remember, you are sinking your back, you are allowing your pelvis bones to roll towards the navel and gently tilting the tailbone away from the surface and then coming down. I'm completely relaxing. So this is an opportunity for your back muscles to kind of lengthen out a little bit. Sinking the back, extending the tailbone away from the body, then tilting it up towards the ceiling, allowing the pelvis to roll towards you. So you're shortening the front of the body. Just breathe and keep breathing. That might take several breath cycles, and then let that go. And let's do that a couple more times. Sinking the back, tailbone moving away from the body, pelvic bones rolling towards the navel, tummy sinking and shortening from the pubic bone to the navel. Back muscles lengthen. And then slowly let that go. And you're going to roll onto your other side. So we had a target side, which was, for some of you, the most comfortable side, and then for others of you, it was the left. So now your target side is the right, or it's the side you haven't done, all right? So let's be as simple as that, the side you weren't turned towards. So this time, the opposite arm comes up towards your head as if in a salute. The palm is down on the surface. Your head is turned to your target side, or if that is in any way uncomfortable, you are face down with your forehead padded so your nose isn't squashed. And we're going to begin with that exploration of lifting the elbow. So imagining that somebody has a string attached to your elbow and they are lifting your elbow, and then you float your elbow back down to the surface and completely relax. So let's get the basic movement first. So we know about the breath, and you know not to solidify in your center. So, but are you remembering to do that? Are you softening in your belly as you float the elbow? So for the next couple of explorations of this movement, soften the belly as you float the elbow. And are you staying in comfort? Remember Goldilocks. Remember level 3 with effort and speed. Are you slowing down the movie so the brain can see? And now that you've explored the movement a couple of times, how does the control feel? How is that sense of smoothness? And can you smooth the movement out? Can you bring this shoulder back under the brain's control? Remember, synchronizing with your breath. You can take several breaths to float the shoulder up and several breaths to float the shoulder down. And then relax, soften. The shoulder relaxes now, the arm relaxes, and we're going to lift the head. So forget about the hand first. We're just going to float the head and chest away from the surface. Remember to feel that extension through the spine. You're lengthening the spine along the horizon first and then lifting. and then slowly coming down at a level you can control. If you have to do it quickly, maybe you're using too much effort. So can you do less effort and maybe aim to gather the muscles up as if you're going to lift, but not actually lift. And by doing that, you might be able to do it with less effort. So concentrate first on that extension of the spine. So it's like you're extending through the back of the head and the crown of the head, lengthening along the horizon. And then as if you're going to float the head and chest up, and then you slowly float down. Are you softening your belly as you lift? And maybe you can experiment with a little more range now. Maybe you can lift a little higher. And if it's okay for you to turn your head, maybe you can turn your head as if to look over your shoulder, feeling that gentle rotation in the neck and top of the spine. Remember, no strain. And after each repetition, come down and fully relax into the surface. Let's connect the hand to the head and put those two movements together. So the hand is either under your forehead or underneath your cheek. So it's the cheek that's in contact with the surface. And in one movement, you are going to lift the elbow. Think of leading with the elbow, and the head and hand follow, spine extends, and then you return to the surface. As you lift, allow the pelvis to gently push into the surface, soft belly. Take as many breaths to lift into your comfortable end of range movement, and as many breaths to come down as is comfortable for you. Just explore that range in comfort. Fully come down at the end of each movement and take a resting breath to kind of rid your body of any residual tension, any anticipatory tension. That's the level of tension that we want to kind of bring the brain's awareness to, because that it's likely that that's the tension that you hold, that you kind of can't get rid of. So by being aware of it, it's an opportunity to let go of it. Now completely relax for a moment, and we're going to do 3 lifts with the target leg. Now remember, the target leg is the opposite leg to the arm that you've just been moving. So your target leg, the different leg from last time, is going to extend away from you and straighten first, and then you're going to gather up the muscles as if you're going to lift 1 millimeter, and then you're going to slowly replace that leg and completely relax. Go ahead and explore that movement. You've done it on the other side, so you know how it goes. Explore your range on this side. Extend the leg first. Straighten the leg and lift. Slowly return. Common things that people do is to lift the leg as high as they can, and it's a really quick movement, and you're not bypassing your habits there at all. You're just doing what you already know. So if it feels really easy, then do it differently. We're trying to interrupt the patterns that your brain's already got. So maybe go more slowly. Maybe add a little rotation. So what if you rotate your heel inwards as you lift. And then you rotate your heel gently outwards as you lift. What do you notice in the back of your glute and hip? And something else that can often happen is people are lifting the leg and it's bent. Now that's okay, but can you straighten it? Okay, relax completely. Let's put all the movements together. So this is just a brain refresher, motor planning. So the leg you've just been moving and the opposite elbow are going to lift. Your head will be either face down, depending on comfort, or turned towards the elbow that is lifting. So opposite arm, opposite leg will lift. You will lengthen across the front of your body. Go ahead and do that movement. Take as many breaths as you like to come up and as many breaths as needed to return. This movement should feel good in your body. So do it at a level that is comfortable for you. And that might involve, depending on your experience and your flexibility and your level of pain, perhaps you want to feel like you get more length, and perhaps you can raise the elbow higher and the leg higher and extend the leg more and really feel that openness at the front of the body. And perhaps you want to stay at the top range and just swell your breath into your belly there. But maybe you want to do less and make it fractional and really feel as you are lifting, where can I feel that? Where's the contraction? And let go of that contraction that you feel. We're all working with what's going on in our bodies, and that's different from person to person. You're going to make the next movement your last one. And then you are going to roll onto your back with bent knees. And we're going to do 3 arch and flattens. So fingertips to the hip bones. You're going to arch the back, roll the pelvis away from you, tailbone into the surface, back of the neck long, and then ease on out of that movement. Take a resting breath, and then you're going to sink the back and belly, roll the hip bones towards you, lengthen the tailbone away. Feel the contraction at the front of your body, and then slowly float out of that movement and take a resting breath. And then maybe you like to flow that movement so that you arch in one way and then come to neutral, and then you flatten, going the opposite way. So in one direction, the back arches, the pelvis rolls away, the belly lengthens. And as you go to the other direction, the tailbone moves away from the body and tilts upwards, the back lengthens, the belly sinks, and you shorten at the front. And maybe you'd like to take that movement into a flow, smooth and even, like a wave. Arching and then softening, and then sinking the back and belly and floating back to neutral. Make your next movement your last one. And then you're going to extend both legs. And we're going to just take that impression of the body, noticing the weight in the feet, the calves, the back of the thighs, the back of the pelvis. Noticing the shoulders, the arms, the forearms, wrists, how the neck feels, the distance from the skull to the tailbone, the amount of surface area of your body in contact, that little imprint as if you were whisked away from the surface, that impression. How does that feel? Is there more of you in contact? And briefly take note of how you're breathing, any thoughts going through your head, any feelings or emotions, sense of calm, sense of agitation. Just notice how that feels. Then you're going to start to wiggle your fingers and toes and get ready to push yourself up onto your side. Go slowly. And come up in your own time. First rolling over onto your side and then pushing yourself up into standing, where you might want to shake the hands, just bounce on the heels, gently pandiculate, reaching lazily towards the ceiling with one arm, and then lazily towards the ceiling with the other arm. And I'm just going to finish with a visual for you, all right, because that can be quite strange to be doing a movement lying on your front and not being able to see what it might look like. So I'm just going to show you some possibilities, because you might want to repeat the session with a different emphasis. Now that you've experienced that movement, it's going to feel different the next time you do it. So if it's uncomfortable to have your head turned to the side, you can have your hand underneath your head, and that can make it more comfortable. Now, if it's okay to have your hand under your cheek, so at that time, I did the movement at my full range, which felt comfortable for me. And I took a couple of breaths to get up there. And at the top of the movement, I hovered the movement and enjoyed a nice breath swelling into my belly. And did you notice how long it took to come down? And I was controlling that movement all the way. Now, that was not possible for me at the beginning. So I'm going to show you what the back lift looked like for me at the beginning. So that was a very different movement. What I always think of as I'm doing that, and sometimes it could be if I've been traveling, or if I'm, you know, just feel tense in the neck or the lower back, I might start my back lift practice like that, and I think of gathering the muscles as if to lift, and then slowly coming down. And even when you touch the surface, there's still some residual tension, there's still some release, still some release, still some release. And even when I say melt to myself, there's still that letting go and melting right at the end of the movement. And that is from a teeny tiny lift that hardly feels like a lift at all. So please don't worry if that session felt a little strange, and you will get better at it. And if you repeat the session, you'll find it feels different again. And if you add onto that session, looking at arch and flatten, which is my first session in this series, and then the second session was the flower, you'll find more mobilization and movement in the spine and in the shoulders and hips that will allow over time these movements to become more familiar, easier to control, because your brain is getting in control of these areas of the body that have just become tense, and there's a lot of residual tension there. So if it does feel odd, that's okay. You don't have to be, don't feel like you're having to achieve anything. Just the exploration of this type of movement is going to be useful for you. And the back lift, you know, is better after arch and flatten. So if you've just joined Somatic Lab this week, go back and look at my session 1 in Less Pain Today, where I talk about this type of movement, and we take a deep dive into arch and flatten. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to continuing the somatic journey with you next week. Thank you.